The young Theseus had bid farewell to his mother and grandfather and set out on his journey to Athens. He could have chosen the sea, a fast and safe route. Instead, he turned inland to the dangerous, infamous overland road that snaked across the Isthmus of Corinth, a no-man's land known as the domain of monsters and bandits. The sun beat down, and the road ahead was a promise of solitude and violence. But in his young heart, Theseus knew no fear. His first trial did not take long to appear. A massive figure blocked his path, a man with broad shoulders and a bestial gaze. It was Periphetes, the club-bearer, a bandit feared for smashing travelers' skulls with his weapon. He laughed when he came upon Theseus.
"A pretty boy far from home. Hand me that sword of yours and perhaps I'll grant you a quick death."
Theseus did not answer with words. When the giant struck, bringing down a blow that whistled through the air and could have pulverized a bull, the young hero moved with fluid agility. He did not retreat before a huge adversary, but advanced, diving under the arc of the attack. Periphetes' club struck only air. Before the bandit could recover, Theseus launched a powerful counterattack, a precise, devastating punch to the giant's jaw. There was the crack of a breaking jaw, and Periphetes howled in pain, dropping his weapons. Without hesitation, Theseus seized the bronze club, feeling its weight and balance. He raised it and, with a single righteous blow, dealt the villain the same fate he had imposed on so many innocents. Theseus would carry the bronze club as a trophy and a symbol of his first victory for justice. Continuing his journey, Theseus came to Eleusis, where another challenge awaited him. There ruled Cercyon, a brutal king who forced all who passed through his lands to face him in hand-to-hand combat to the death. He was a man of prodigious strength, whose arms were like oak trunks, and he prided himself on never having been defeated. On seeing Theseus, Cercyon smiled with disdain and challenged him. The young hero was undaunted. In a ring of hard-packed earth, surrounded by the bleached bones of Cercyon's previous victims, the two faced off. The wrestler king charged, relying on brute force to crush Theseus in a lethal bear hug. But Theseus was unlike any opponent before him. Instead of meeting strength with strength, he used his skill. He slipped aside, pivoted, and used Cercyon's own momentum against him. They were techniques of leverage and balance, moves no one in that region had ever seen. Theseus was not merely fighting, he was inventing an art. Frustrated to the breaking point, Cercyon rushed with a roar of fury. But Theseus anticipated the move, seized his opponent, lifted him from the ground, and hurled him with tremendous force. The impact broke the tyrant's neck and his pride. Rising to his feet, Theseus had learned that technique and cunning could overcome brute force. There, the seed was planted for the style of wrestling that would one day be called Greco-Roman. Between his encounters with monstrous men, Theseus also faced the beasts of nature. Near the village of Crommyon, he heard tales of a gigantic boar, a creature so fierce it was said to be the daughter of the monsters Typhon and Echidna. The Crommyonian Sow devastated fields and killed anyone who crossed its path. Rather than detour, Theseus saw another chance to bring peace to the region. He hunted the creature, following its trail of destruction to its lair. The battle was primal and bloody. The boar charged with tusks sharp as daggers, but Theseus's courage and precision with his sword prevailed, and the stubborn youth put an end to yet another terror that plagued the land. The last, and perhaps the most sinister, of his challenges on the road was a man named Procrustes, the Stretcher. He kept an inn by the roadside, offering shelter and hospitality to weary travelers. His welcome was warm, his smile inviting. But behind the facade of kindness lurked insane perversity. Procrustes had 2 beds in his inn, one short and one long. When a tall traveler accepted his hospitality, he tied him to the short bed. Then, with a sword, he sadistically cut the victim's legs until he fit the bed perfectly. If the guest was short, he was tied to the long bed, and after smashing his knees and elbows with a mallet, Procrustes used ropes and pulleys to stretch his limbs until they reached the ends of the bed. Sensing the malice in the host's eyes, Theseus accepted the offer of rest. When Procrustes led him to the room and prepared to subdue him, the hero struck first. With overwhelming speed, Theseus overpowered the bandit and offered him the comfort of his own bed. The villain was a tall man, and his feet extended well beyond the edge. Theseus took Procrustes' sword and imposed upon the monster his own terrible justice, ensuring he fit perfectly into his creation. At last, covered in dust and the blood of his trials, Theseus sighted the walls of Athens. His fame had preceded him. Stories of a young hero who had cleared the road of its worst terrors had already reached the city. Yet his arrival did not surprise the aging King Aegeus. In the palace, a new and sinister influence had taken root: the sorceress Medea. Having fled Corinth, she found refuge in Athens, and, with her dark arts and cunning, had become the king's counselor and consort. Medea, with her prophetic sight, foresaw the heir's arrival and knew his presence would mean the end of her power. Manipulative, she did not reveal to Aegeus the stranger's true identity. Instead, she poisoned the king's mind. Already paranoid and fearful of plots, she warned him about a powerful youth coming to kill him and usurp his throne. "Receive him with honors, my king. Offer him a banquet, and toast his arrival with a cup of your finest wine. It will be a toast that solves all your problems." Aegeus, fearful for his fate, agreed. When Theseus was presented at court, the king saw only the youth's strength and the bronze club in his hands. A dangerous stranger, exactly as Medea had described. During the banquet, with a heavy heart, Aegeus offered Theseus a cup of wine, secretly laced with a deadly poison prepared by the sorceress. Theseus, honored by the king's gesture, accepted the cup. To return the hospitality, he raised the cup to toast the king's health. At that instant, the king recognized the ornate hilt of the old sword at the young man's waist. The youth before him was not an assassin. He was his heir.
No!
cried the king, in a mixture of horror and relief. As Theseus raised the cup to his lips, Aegeus's trembling hand struck the goblet, spilling the poisoned wine across the marble floor. Ignoring the court's shock, Aegeus rushed forward and embraced Theseus, weeping openly.
My son, you have finally come!
The reunion was a whirlwind of emotion. Aegeus's fury then turned on Medea, who was banished from the realm forever. That day, King Aegeus climbed the palace steps and, before all the people of Athens, presented the young hero. With a voice ringing with pride and joy, he officially recognized him as Theseus, his only son, Prince of Attica, and rightful heir to the throne of Athens. The long journey to reclaim his rightful place in the world had ended, but a new and even grander journey was about to begin.